Hey there, boys and girls. Today we are going to go ahead and tackle our next lesson in our chapter on geometry, and this one is quadrilaterals. Okay, so starting right off, we see that quadrilaterals have sides that are parallel or equal distance apart. Okay, notice again that our parallel lines right here, these are never going to cross each other. They will stay the same distance apart, never ever crossing each other. Remember, we talked about on Friday, parallel lines actually have, the word parallel has parallel lines in it. Okay, so now let's take a look at some examples that we have. So starting over with Math in My World, number 1. Let me just get rid of this stuff right here. Go ahead and follow along with me. It says, the Eiffel Tower, shown in Paris, France, describe, that means we're going to go ahead and tell about or name whether any of the sides in the quadrilateral outlined in green are parallel. So first off, we want to find this quadrilateral outlined in green. And if we come over here, we should notice that, hey, that's outlined in green. And we're going to figure out which of these lines are parallel, if any of them are. Okay? Now, if I look at these side lines right here, if they keeps going this way and going this way, you're going to notice, what do? They cross. So, those lines right there are not parallel. But what about these lines on top of it, going this way and this way? If they keep going that way, they are never going to cross. So the top and bottom sides of the quadrilateral are parallel. And we find that a quadrilateral with exactly one pair, I mean, when I say one pair, I mean 1, 2, here's our pair of parallel sides, is a trapezoid. Remember trapezoid. If I take this shape right here and I turn it upside down, see, all I did is I took this shape and I turned it upside down. Notice right here, remember my little drawing that I had, a person comes walking and they fall in and now they're trapped in there. So the quadrilateral outlined in green is called a trapezoid. Okay, so that's the first one we need to know about a trapezoid, quadrilateral that has one pair of parallel sides. Now, if I continue, it says some quadrilaterals have both pairs of opposite sides that are parallel, meaning that both sides are parallel. Those quadrilaterals are called parallelograms. Think about that, parallelograms. Parallelograms have the attributes, remember that word attribute, meaning the sides and angles shown in the table below. So what I'm going to do now, ladies and gentlemen, is I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on this parallelogram and this table. So don't be freaked out when you see this, okay? And here we are zoomed in. Whoa! Alright, so check it out. Here's our parallelogram. And in a parallelogram, according to this table, both pairs of opposite sides are parallel. So what does that mean? If I take my opposite and my opposite, that means that these two are never going to cross each other. They are parallel. And I take this opposite and this opposite, that means they're never going to cross each other. They are parallel. So both of these pair of opposite sides are parallel. Also, these opposite sides have the same length. If I went and measured these opposite sides, we would find that this side and this side have the same length, and this side have the same length. We also know that the angles, opposite angles, are the same size. So again, if I take this angle and I take its opposite, this angle, they are going to equal each other. And if I take this angle and its opposite over here, this angle, they're going to equal each other. So these are the attributes of parallelograms. Now, if we look on the back side of our paper, we're going to see that There are many kinds of parallelograms. You can classify quadrilaterals, including parallelograms, using the following attributes. Remember, attributes are our sides and angles. Okay? We can look at the side lengths to classify them, parallel sides, and right angles. So now, using that information, let's take a look at example number 2. Example number 2 says that use a centimeter ruler. That's our small cm ruler, our paper one. That should be inside our black folder. We're going to use the centimeter ruler to measure the side lengths of each parallelogram below to the nearest centimeter. Record your results in the table. We're going to go ahead and work on this one together, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so let's take a look at figure 1. First, we got to match up our figure 1 with, down here in the table, our quadrilateral figure 1. So now, if I measure the long sides, if I measure my length in figure 1, we should come up with the following measurements. If you measure correctly, you should come up with 3 centimeters for our lengths and 1 centimeters for our width. So now, we come over to our side length. Side 1, we'll call this top one side 1, 3 centimeters. Side 2, we'll call that one 3 centimeters. We'll do side 1 and side 2. We'll say side 3 and side 4. This will be 1 centimeter, 1 centimeter. Okay, so let's go ahead and try figure 2. If you measure correctly, we should come up with 2 centimeters all the way around, So now for figure 2, it's pretty easy. All you got to do is do 2 centimeters for all of them, because all the sides equal 2 centimeters. So now let's take a look at our last figure, figure 3. And you're going to find, just like figure 2, figure 3 also had 2 centimeters for all the way around. So this will be easy. We can just put 2 centimeters for all of them. Alright, so now we got to figure out which parallelogram have all sides equal in length, or which parallelograms. Well, if we look at all of the sides, we should see that figures 2 and 3 have all sides of equal length. And then it says which parallelograms have 4 right angles. Well, we have to, this time, let me just go ahead and erase all this up here. Let's take a look at our figures and which ones have the right angles. Remember, the right angles, you can fit a nice square into the corner, or they should have squares. Well, notice figure 1 and figure 2 has those squares inside the corner, so that would be figure 1 and figure 2. So now let's take a look at some of those vocabulary. It says a rectangle is a parallelogram with 4 right angles. Okay? Here's our rectangle. Notice that it has 4 right angles, and it is a parallelogram, so these sides are equal and these sides are equal, and these sides are parallel and these sides are parallel. Okay? The next one we need to look at is a rhombus. A rhombus is a parallelogram with 4 equal sides. Our rhombus is over here because all of these sides are equal to each other. But I want you to notice they didn't say anything about right angles. These angles inside here are not right angles at all. So a rhombus only has four equal sides. And finally, we have the mother or the queen of all parallelograms, and that is your square. A square is a parallelogram with 4 right angles. And I'm going to draw a line to our square. It has 4 right angles, and it has 4 equal sides. Let me just kind of erase a little bit of this right here. Again, here are our right angles, and all 4 sides are equal. So it's like we take this rectangle and we combine it with the rhombus, and that gets us our square. All right? So now we can go ahead and fill in this information down here on figure 1, 2, and 3. Go ahead and take a few seconds and figure out what figure 1 is, figure 2, and figure 3. Alright, figure 1, we just talked about, has 4 right angles, so that makes it a rectangle. We know figure 2 is a rectangle because it has 4 right angles. It's a rhombus because it has 4 equal sides. So that makes it the mother of all quadrilaterals, the square. And finally, figure 3. Figure 3 we know has 4 equal sides, so that makes figure 3 a rhombus. All right, with that information that we know, let's take a look at question number 1 down at guided practice. It says refer to example 2. Remember, when they tell us to refer to something, they're meaning use or look at. So we're going to go back up to example number 2. I'm going to go ahead and take a few seconds and clean this up. I'll be back in just a second. All right, so number 1, it says refer to example number 2. So we're gonna go ahead and look up here at example 2. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and describe 3 attributes. Remember, attributes are sides and angles. So we're gonna look at the sides and the angles of exercise number 2. That figures 1 and 2. So here's figure 1, here's figure 2. We're not even going to worry about figure number 3, so don't even worry about figure 3. I'm going to go ahead and cross that out down there. We're going to go ahead and discuss how are the sides and the angles the same on these 2 figures. So let's first off start with the angles. There's something, I bet you if you look close enough at 1 and 2, you can find something about the angles. So what do you think? I know that I'm looking at the angles. I'm seeing these squares inside all of the corners. And we know those squares are supposed to be right angles. So I can put down something that they have in common. All 4 corners are right. And I guess if I wanted to be really specific, I could say all 4 angles are right. And they have those in common. What's something else they have in common? We've already talked about the angles, so let's talk about the sides. We know that they're both parallelograms. And remember, the parallelograms, the opposite sides are the same. So you could say opposite sides are equal. Now we got to think of one more attribute. We've talked about the angles, and we've talked about the sides being the same. But also let's think about that word parallel. What do we know about the opposite sides? We know that the opposite sides in a parallelogram are parallel. So we could say, I'm going to go ahead and draw a line over here, just so we know that it's over here. We could say that opposite sides are parallel. All right, and so those are 3 attributes. Remember, sides and angles that make figures numbers 1 and 2 the same, or that's what they have in common. Right, so what I want you to do now is I want you to go ahead and check out the board to see what you're supposed to do next. You might want to review over our vocabulary we've talked about, because there is a lot of vocabulary that we're going to be covering here. Thanks a lot for your time, and I'll talk to you later.